Hello, I'm recording this on October 17th, and a little check-in for something that I think is very important. And it has to do with tomorrow, October 18th, in the United States. There's a massive protest, however you want to call this, all over the United States, called No Kings. The people from the activism level have been building up for this for a long time. And I want to talk about the astrology of this. As some of you know, Mars has been in the sign of Scorpio here for almost 2 weeks now. Venus is now in the sign of Libra. Both of those placements, Venus in Libra, are comfortable, and Venus is at home in Libra, accentuating balance and wanting harmony in all types of relational activities. That includes human beings and you and the world and anything you're relating to. Mars in Scorpio functions well and is at home there. And Mars there likes to focus, pinpoint, and investigate and get to the heart and truth of things in Scorpio. So you have an interesting situation when we deal with the relational planets, Venus and Mars, and their placements. Now, on paper, this is great. I think for the protests that are going to happen on the 18th, the No Kings protests, we have a sense of looking for harmony within our friends, community, family, strangers on the street, that you're aligned with this message towards the United States government, towards the administration, and all those who fall underneath there, and everything that's been happening this year, whether it's economic policy, immigration policy. Let's be real. Fascist policies that are going on here. And the interesting thing to follow through on the narrative of this weekend is Mercury is also in Scorpio and is moving towards a conjunction where the two planets are together on Sunday. This is building, and it almost peaks here on the Saturday while these protests are going on all over the United States. And mind you, this is not in just big cities, but in smaller areas too. And there are people that, we're going to have a chance to voice their truth. Now, not too long ago, I made a video about the Aries lunation that happened, and Mercury and Scorpio was involved. It was the Aries full moon, and Pluto was involved with Mercury. And I said in my video, like, should you speak your truth? Should you do this? And here we are now. We're almost a couple weeks later, right? And we are at a moment where people are going to be voicing their truth. And I think it's tactically there with Venus and Libra, because Venus and Libra knows how to tactically maneuver in relationships. And I actually think that will be in more of the forefront. A protest like Saturday in many places creates a situation and an environment for those who would normally be out on the streets or voice their opinion, but in numbers they feel safe. And so big organized protests like this are very safe for people to show themselves, right? And depending on the person, they might show a little bit of their truth or more of it. Now, there's other people who are much more, have a different type of protesting strategy where they're much more, let's say, aggressive and caustic and that, and it serves its purpose. But something like Saturday is more a bigger tent for people to be under and to feel safe for doing it. Now, do you speak the full truth there? And I think people are, and they will. But from a strategic point of view, I said a couple weeks ago in my full moon video, which maybe I'll link up here, that the Mercury and Scorpio transit is I think the fundamental movement in transit. So Mercury is going to keep moving past this weekend and go all the way into Sagittarius. We're going to be in November when this happens, and we'll go retrograde in Sagittarius, and we'll go backwards all the way back into Scorpio. Soon we will have Venus in Scorpio go through this area. What I'm telling you is, even though things are said this weekend, and I think it's important for people to express their truth and also speak truth to what's happening, especially if we pick one part of this is how there are those who are being threatened with arrest and prosecution for speaking their truth against governmental policies. I don't think, obviously, this ends on this weekend. It continues through the next month and a half. Some will use a Mercury and Mars and Scorpio transit to not necessarily speak fully truthful, but start a conversation about it. Many will still stay behind the scenes doing their investigations and finding little more things and getting deeper and deeper. And as we go into November, when Venus will go into Scorpio, and touch these same areas. Mercury will be retrograding back there, having to review what has been said or what is being investigated, or having to probe even deeper. We go and end up at an interesting date, and it will be November 22nd. Here, where Mercury will be around 24 degrees Scorpio retrograde, Venus will be at 20 to 21 degrees, pretty much close to the next 3 or 4 days of Mercury and Mars transits in Scorpio. And it's on November 22nd, where I think we'll have one of the biggest protests of the year, bigger than the one we're going to do here on the 18th. And it's on the 22nd, where many activists and organizers are pretty much saying for everyone to go to Washington, D.C. and take over the streets of the Capitol. So I think this weekend is a door opening for what is to be said and spoken by many people on the streets and the communities. But I think it gets a little even deeper and darker through the weeks. And we're going to have to deal with how we relate to each other and those who are, in a sense, oppressing us, pushing us down, threatening us with their abuses of power. And we're going to have to maneuver, at least the next couple of weeks, of so-called being nice in the Venus and Libra negotiating way at the table. But I think it really is masking something, I think, deeper underneath. It's a scorpionic transit, scorpionic protests. And when we do stuff like this, you don't see and hear everything yet. But you will in the next 5 to 6 weeks. And when we get to November 22nd, I think we're going to see a really rambunctious, slightly off-kilter type of voicing and protests on the Capitol. There's a lot that's going to happen from the 18th of October till then. So be clear. Know your messaging. If you happen to be one of these people who's going to go out and speak your mind or create a poster or however you're going to do this, keep it straightforward and simple, right? But know that it's not going to end, that you're going to be back doing this. And think about the messaging that you're doing tomorrow or on the 18th, and then think how the message will evolve for you as we get to the 22nd of November. And be strategic about this. Learn from the mistakes. Watch what other people are doing. And if you happen to be of the organization measure, or you're meeting people, strangers that are new to you, that you are aligned with and feel like together with, strategize on how you will send messaging out there, or how you will resist in protest, whether it's publicly at a well-known 22nd November protest or anything, or it's a middle of the week somewhere or something. This is where we learn. We learn when we get together. So not only take action and speak truth to power, but along the ways when we meet other people. And this is where the brainstorming and the probing happens, and seeing the exchange of ideas when it deals with strategic activities, when we deal with resistance and dealing with a fascist regime, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to break down the Constitution of the United States. They're kidnapping people off the streets. They're threatening you, calling you quote-unquote Antifa. They don't even know what the hell that really means. I think they do know what it means, but they're vilifying it. Know that they're talking about you. Even a person, if you don't go on the streets and you sit there and you're thinking in your head that this is fucked up what they're doing. They're fascist maneuvers. They're modeled after other fascist regimes in our history. They're basically stealing from them their strategy. The fact that you would not like this, the fact that you were like, no, this is wrong, they consider you a terrorist. They consider you against the government, against so-called Christianity, and a bunch of other things. So don't let them throw you off. Use Mercury, Mars, eventually Venus and Scorpio to strategically get at the heart of your own truth, so you know where you stand and what to do when called upon, whether it's through action or through your word. And you're also going to probe and investigate them and find their weaknesses and what they're doing. And you'll find those little things, and you won't announce them per se, but you'll hold them and you'll look and you analyze. And when the right time comes, you'll know exactly what to do, and you won't be the only one, right? Now, those are my thoughts. We have Venus and Libra in the weekend with a Libra moon for the weekend. Hey, everything's balanced. It looks good, or people are together. But no, as a reminder, one more time, I'm going to say this to you. It's really a scorpionic story. And we could connect Jupiter and Cancer and Saturn and Pisces for this because we know we're dealing with a grand water trine. When we're dealing with water relationships, we're dealing with what's underneath emotionally, stories and lineages and ancestry and the traumas attached to it or the knowledge attached to it. So for us as a country in the United States, we are probing those waters the next month and a half. And some of it will come out in voice. We're dealing with the past history here. When we get into next year, springtime in the Northern Hemisphere, when Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, and eventually after April 25th, Uranus is back into Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius. We get to June of next year, Jupiter will go into Leo, and next thing you know, we're not meandering through the watery emotional places that we're trying to process right now, but we're in another place that will have to do with strategic mind, ideas and strategy, and the action of fire through Saturn and Neptune in Aries and Jupiter in Leo. And it will be accompanied by eclipses in Aquarius and Leo. When we get to summer Northern Hemisphere next year and the end of it, we are going to be popping off on another level when it comes to resistance, protest, and speaking truth. And you'll see a lot more people who aren't afraid to take action anymore. But right now, we're kind of going in a nice way of protesting, most of us, right? We're learning what we need to do right now, and we're processing it emotionally the next month and a half, 2 months. All right. I hope some of this made sense to you of the way I'm thinking about things. If you happen to be out doing something in your community, take precautionary measures, drink water, have some foods with you, have your backup, get to know your neighbors on the corner or the community, wherever you're going to be. Don't be afraid to speak with them and engage face to face. These little things might not seem like much, but they're everything in the long-term story. And for those who watch my channel, who know what I've been preaching about on this channel for 2 years, ever since Pluto went in Aquarius, which, by the way, we know Pluto stationed retrograde this past week. We know that I always talk about my things. We talk about how we trust ourselves, right? We trust our gifts. We're prepared, right? We find our independent, autonomous zone where we are safe but focused with our gifts. And when the time comes, we express those gifts through creativity and action. And come next year, you'll finally get to really put some of this into place. But just a little practice now for the next month and a half, right? Keep it straightforward and simple is what I'm suggesting. Thanks for hearing my thoughts on all this. I hope you're doing well. If you're new here and you somehow watch this and you're aligned with my message, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for when I go live. I got a bunch of other stuff coming down the line. Any other info, you see it in the copy, okay? On that note, stay strong and stay true, my friends.